Welcome to Conversation With. This is our program on BCAT where we go in depth with one guest. Today my guest is Mayor Cary Bozeman. Welcome to the show.
Once a mayor, always a mayor.
And you taught me that.
Yeah.
After you left office, I said, can I call you Cary now? Or, oh, you're mayor. Oh, once a mayor?
Yeah.
Always a mayor.
Absolutely.
Well, Cary, Mayor Bozeman, is going to leave the Port of Bremerton at the end of the year. So I thought him and I would get together and talk about his fabulous work in Kitsap County and where the future is going to take him. So first of all, tell us the story of how you came to Kitsap. We're going to start with when you came, how you came, why you came.
Yeah. Well, first, good to be with you again, Shar.
Thank you.
It's like old times.
Yeah, it is.
We used to do the old mayor's roundtable, which was a lot of fun. No, it's been a great world. I've been here in Kitsap now 15 years, and it's gone so fast. I came over here as a 55-year-old looking for a new challenge in life, and as you know, I'd been the mayor of Bellevue and had run the King County Boys and Girls Club for years. And actually, I came over here at the request of a council member, Cheryl Huffmanese, if you remember Cheryl.
I love Cheryl.
And she called me and said, I understand you do retreats for city councils. And I said, sure. And so she hired me to do a retreat for their council. And then she hired me to do another retreat. And so I think I did a couple of gigs for the city council. And then the word got out that I was available, and the college called me and offered me a short contract. I remember my pay was $20,000 a year, and to help them with their foundation. And so I took the job, and I just fell in love with the college. I loved being there. I loved the students that were there, who were usually 25 to 26-year-olds who were really trying to get that second start in their life. So having worked with kids all my life, I liked it. So the college offered me a 3/4 time job, and then they offered me a full-time job.
And who was the president then?
Oh, wow.
It was not David Mitchell, it was the fellow
No, it was
before
two
him.
presidents before. It was a woman, Allen was her name.
Oh, okay.
She's passed on, unfortunately, but that was her name. And so, but they had a board there. Doug Berger was president of the board. We had a very nice board, and I enjoyed the job, and so they offered me a full-time job. I think I started there in 2006, and we did well. You know, we started out with a couple $100,000 in the bank, and I think when I left, we had $3 or $4 million, and we had built the new library, which I'm really proud of today. So that was great. But I still had, so I was 6 years at the college, and I had bought a home over here. I'd sold my home in Seattle. Made me cry because I had a wonderful home at Green Lake, and I'd get up in the morning and walk around the lake, and so, but commuting was not for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I became part of the community, and I started watching what was going on at City Hall, and back in those days, the mayor and the council were not getting along.
Right.
And every day you'd pick up the paper, there would be some confrontation, and I came down and visited a couple times because I have a love of cities. I was on the Bellevue City Council for 16 years. So anyway, that got me interested, and at some point I've always believed that that life's kind of an adventure, and that you need to take risk in life. And even though I had a wonderful job at the college and was pretty comfortable there, I thought, you know, I could help this city. And that's what you say to yourself. I could help the city, and I could do something I really love doing. Because public service is really the essence of my being. That's what I want to do. I want to make things better for people. And being a mayor, having been a mayor, I knew the opportunity that it gave you to act on your passion. And so, you know, I got in the race against then Mayor Horton and the former mayor, Louis Mentor, who's passed on. And it was a good race. It was a tough race.
It was a good race.
It was a tough race. We all worked hard, and I was the outsider. Here this Bellevue guy coming in to tell us what to do. What does he know about Bremerton? I heard that story a few times. But you know,
I think it was almost 10 years before people quit saying that.
Yeah. But you know, I'd knock on doors, and I think I doorbelled every house in Bremerton that year, and people were they were upset and they were angry that the downtown had been let to die. And they remember when they used to shop downtown and they bought their dresses and their suits and all that stuff. And I can't tell you how many people said, and we've heard all these plans about the revitalization of downtown, and nothing's ever worked. So I thought, there's the mandate. That's what they want us to bring this downtown back. And so anyway, to make a long story short, and I'm rattling here as I always do, but ran and won that night, and it was one of the happiest nights of my life. And I've had a few happy nights in my life, but that was I just felt like we'd accomplished, we'd run hard, we'd worked hard, it'd been a fair race, and that there was so much that could be done. And I was so ready to go be the mayor. I mean, if there was ever anyone ready for the job, I was ready for that job, based on my experience and based on what I'd done in Bellevue, as Bellevue was a small community and we were able to do some good things. So I was ready, and it started a whole new life.
Let me share a story. You were running for mayor, and we were living in our old city hall, meaning our city staff, our city business. We were on 4th Street, and you were standing outside one of our back entrances, greeting employees as we came to work, introducing yourself. I'm Cary Bozeman, I'm running for mayor, and I thought, well, that is really different, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe this guy has something going for him.
Well, it's like going down to wherever people
Ferry
work and getting
terminal,
in line,
whatever.
and
That's
I
it.
stood in front of a bunch of ferry terminals too. Oh, bringing back, Shar, that old city hall. I remember first
Did you
time
just
I
freak?
walked in that place, and it was dirty, and the carpets were stained.
Oh,
and,
terrible.
I've always believed that government institutions, especially city halls and capitol buildings, it speaks
Be
to
nice.
who you are.
Yeah.
And they should be something you should be proud of. And that building had overdone its use 30 years before that. And
So-
it was really a shame.
One of the first things that happened when you got into office was we moved into the government center.
Right.
It was it a year later?
Well, one of the first things I did when I went into the old city hall was clean it up.
Yeah,
I mean, we
you're
painted
very
it,
good at that.
we put in new carpet, we at least made it presentable. And then we started working on a new city hall.
Right.
And there had been conversation before I got there about the new, wasn't called the Norm Dick Center. I'll
Right.
take some credit for that too. And I know where my bread gets buttered,
That's right.
So we started working with that, and that project had kind of fallen apart a little bit. And Norm McLaughlin was working on it, and
Right.
a variety of people.
Right.
But it hadn't gone anywhere. I mean, they
Right.
couldn't figure out how to pull it together.
Right.
So I finally told the interested parties that if they didn't move ahead, that I was going to go ahead without them, and I'd just build our city hall. We wouldn't be we wouldn't have the other agencies
Right.
with us, because if they couldn't get their act together, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I think that stimulated
That
some
kinda got it going.
conversation, and we got it going, and took us a couple of years, but built one of the nicest city halls.
Great facility.
For a city our size in the country. And it was a unique project because it was a condominium project. I mean, the county health department and the housing department and the city and a variety of other people all participated in paying for the bonds to pay for it. So it was quite a unique, and Laura Lyon was our finance director at the time, and she was really good at putting that together. So I'm proud of
Yeah,
that project.
great
And
building.
then we got to thinking about what to name it, and there were a variety, government center and all this stuff. And, it just hit me that here we've got this longtime congressman that's one of the more powerful people in the world, literally, and we grew up just a block from this thing. And I thought, here's a chance to really say thank you to this guy. And so we talked to the other owners about, and I think we had one meeting, and it was the idea came out we should name it after Norm Dix. And usually we wait till people
Somebody's
die.
passed away.
Right. And I've never been a big fan of that. And so unanimous, name it after Norm. And I'll never forget the day we opened the building, and Norm and his mother were there, and all his children, and it was quite a
It was great.
wonderful day.
The fellow who is in charge of operations in the building, John Owensby, reminded me a few weeks ago that we've been there for 8 years now.
Really?
I said, we've been in this building about 5 now, and he said, no, it's 8.
Well, you know, one of the wonderful things I love about the building is the city council chambers.
Exactly.
You know, I've always believed that city councils ought to have a nice chamber, and it ought to be good for the public, you know, to be able to come. And that's a wonderful city council chamber.
It's a great
and it
facility.
gets used for a variety of
Lots
things.
of
So,
things.
you know, the building's is a great building. L&M Architects were our architects, and they did a great design, and it set a new standard for what could happen. And then if you notice right across the street, then Tim Ryan came and built his wonderful new building. So, you know, if you start elevating what people's images are of what could be downtown, and you build things to that new level, then other people come along and do the same.
You're absolutely right.
It created a new standard for.
And how many times, and I want to close on this, we're going to take a break, but how many times did we talk about what's first, business downtown or people living downtown? And we're going to come right back and talk some more about that. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Conversation With. My guest is Cary Bozeman, Mayor Cary Bozeman, and we're talking about his time with the city. And as we closed last segment, I said, what's more important, people living downtown or businesses? What's first? And we had talked about that. There were many conversations. So let's talk about people are now living downtown. We're getting more businesses, some great restaurants.
Yeah.
What do you see for our future?
Downtowns have changed dramatically. They've become urban neighborhoods now. And they can't be successful unless you have both. That's the real answer. But they certainly can't be successful unless there are people living downtown. And it's a new lifestyle for people, especially empty nesters are interested. If you look at the condos in downtown Bremerton, I'll bet you 85% of them are empty nesters.
I think you're right.
So you're near services, you don't need a car, all that kind of stuff. You bring street ambiance to the street. So it's really a combination of both. So cities now, to be dynamic and to have the kind of things you want downtown, grocery stores and meeting places where people congregate, and maybe even places where there's entertainment and music. That means you have to have people living downtown. So that's why it was so critical that we build those condominiums downtown. And I know there's been some controversy over the financing of those, but believe me, A, they're world-class buildings, and B, they'll be there forever. You know, I tend to always think, and I know it's hard for people, in 20-year increments. I mean, what will this do 20 years from now? And what will the city look like in 20 years from now? Because I've seen how that works. When I was at Bellevue 20 years ago, we were kind of looking out to what it could be, and now that's happened. And so you got to think 20 years. So those buildings 20 years from now, they'll all be full. There'll be 3 or 4 more of them up there. I am very optimistic about what Bremerton will become. I think it's going to become an urban city, about 60,000 people, maybe the size of Bellingham, kind of a city. I think if the college can expand to offer more baccalaureate degrees, that's going to be
that's happening every year.
Major deal. So and the city has a great set of bones. I mean, the streets are easy to navigate, and the downtown's really relatively small. So that property is going to become more and more valuable. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, Shar, but I think we've got it started. And I think the mayor is continuing it. And I think the city council understands the importance of, if you don't have a vibrant downtown, you don't have a vibrant city.
Yeah.
And I know people complain, well, you're doing too much here and you're not doing enough there. Well, there are only so many resources. So you have to do what you think is most critical for the future. And as long as that downtown would stay in deterioration, your city would be in deterioration. So you had, because that's the face of your city.
That's absolutely
And that's
right.
what people think of you in terms of if they want to bring investment dollars, if they want to bring their company, and you've got a dilapidated old city with buildings boarded up, not going to happen. So I think I'm very optimistic about what's going on. And the new theater, I think, is a great. We always believed that a theater was important. And now to see that Gary Sexton is back building another project, and I'll take credit for bringing Sexton on board, which was a decision I made the first 6 months I was on, and he's done a fabulous job. But that new theater is going to be great for downtown. So I think if we can continue the momentum, if we can get out of this recession, which, which has really impacted lots more things I think might be happening if we weren't in this recession. But we've got the shipyard with 12,000 employees, and they're still working there, and they still work within 100 yards of our downtown. So there's lots of opportunities in the future. I'm very optimistic about where Bremerton's going, and I think the next 20 years, if you could come back 20 years and just go forward 20 years and come back, I think you'll be amazed. I really do.
That'll be awesome. Well, we'll check in with you in 20 years and see
Hopefully
how
I'll be
going.
around.
Yeah, I hope you're still
raising hell.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so Mayor, a few years ago, you decided to leave our city and come to the Port of Bremerton, and that's where we're shooting from today. We're in their beautiful conference room, and this is where your port commissioners meet.
Right.
What was it that drew you to this job?
You know, Shar, leaving the city was the most difficult decision of my life, and I'm still never convinced I absolutely made the right decision. But, 8 years, I thought we got a lot done in 8 years. At the age I was in life, I've always thought change was good for people. And there were some parts of any job that you take that become repetitive. And I'd been a mayor before. I'd been on the city council, and then I had the honor of being mayor again here in Bremerton. But there were parts of it that I'd done a lot and done over and over, and so I really debated about do a third term for another 4 years, or at this stage of my life have a chance to do something different. And boy, I turned many nights in bed, and I flip-flopped many times on this question. And in the end, I made the decision to bring. I always preach change in life, right? And I thought change might be good for me. So that was when I made the decision to accept the offer that the port had made me to come here and be the CEO. I've never been a CEO of a port, didn't know much about industrial parks or airports or marinas, and I thought, that'll be a nice challenge for me. And so I've been here 3 years, and I've enjoyed it very much. Got a great staff here, wonderful people to work with. And, I just felt like it was a time in my life where I came to this decision pretty quickly that I wanted to be in charge of my own life. And very few of us, ever get there, right? Where you're just in charge. If I get up in the morning, I'm in charge of what I'm going to do. And I thought, I'm ready for that. And now I'm not ready to not do something. I want to continue to contribute, and I need to find out how to do that. But I definitely am ready to leave the port and to go on and be in charge of what Cary Bozeman does every day from 8 till when he goes to bed at night, and to be able to pick and choose those projects. I want to stay in working with cities. I want to work with city council members. I want to do work around the state, but I want to do it on my own terms. So this has been a great 3 years for me. I've learned a lot. I've met new people, and at a time in my life when a lot of times you don't get to do that. So
the marina was expanded, and you saw the end of. You saw that to fruition, or was that done while you were mayor?
It was done before. It was done while I was mayor, but I had a lot to do with that happening. And I want to say the port took a lot of heat over passing a tax to build that marina. And sometimes really important things that you do politically are very difficult. And this is one of those cases where the folks got angry at us for passing a tax on them. Well, I'm happy to say we built a world-class marina that'll be there for the next 100 years, and the tax will go away next year. So the marina will be fully paid for next year. So, so it was one of those things that was, there was some hurt and some backlash on us, but the port did the right thing. It was a tough decision, but now there's a world-class marina setting at the waterfront of Bremerton, and it'll be there forever and ever. So we've done that.
How about safe boats and the presence of safe boats?
Yeah, we've been working with safe boats for about a year now. They're our biggest client. They're probably the biggest private employer in the county. They have 300 employees, and we've really worked hard. As you know, safe boats has been purchased by and large by outside investors, and we've been very worried that they might leave. And we don't know for sure yet, and I'm hoping to be able to, before I leave here, to have that decision made. But we've spent almost a year trying to work with them and decide where they want to take their company and what they might need in terms of facilities. So we're making progress. We haven't crossed the finish line yet. We're also working on, we've got this, when I came here, one of my goals was to try to figure out a major company we could bring here. And we've got 2,000 acres sitting out here of industrial land. So we got involved in the Boeing conversation about where Boeing will build the next 737. And no one had thought about Bremerton, but we got ourselves on the radar screen. We're part of the conversation now. If they don't decide to build it in Renton, then I think Bremerton will at least be considered as a potential site for Boeing to come over here and build manufacturing plants. So we're working hard at that, and I'm hoping before I leave here that we can, not that decision won't be made yet, but that the Port of Bremerton and Kitsap County will certainly be in the mix, and Boeing will be considering us. So, you know, that's 5,000 jobs. So those are the kind of things.
And there's a huge team on that, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got
all the mayors,
we got about 15.
commissioners.
We've got we call it the Kitsap Aerospace Alliance.
Nice.
And we've got a good team working on this.
Well, I think we kind of scored with this new director of Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, who's a former mayor and very
John and
connected.
I go way back, Powers, and I think John's going to be good for Kitsap County.
Right.
John's a good promoter. He's a good salesperson. He knows a lot of people. He has a lot of good contacts. So I'm optimistic that he'll make a difference in Kitsap County. That's for sure. Yeah.
Where is the Speedway racetrack? What's going on?
The
with
motorsports. Yeah, that's a bigger deal than people think. That could be a big tour. It won't be NASCAR, which I was sorry we didn't get. God, I can imagine now we'd have that stadium and there'd be 1 million people coming to that thing, and the tax revenue from that would be off the charts. I'm still mad that we didn't get that, but that's another story. Yeah. But we do have a minor, we've got kind of a minor league motorsports park going on over here, but it's going to be significant. It'll be a $10 to $15 million venture led by some private sector folks, and it'll be about a 200-acre park. It'll have an oval, it'll have a drag strip, I think it'll have a drag strip. It'll have go-kart stuff, things for families.
Oh, cool.
And it'll attract a lot of tourists from around the state, because there aren't many of these built. So we're in planning now that we've signed a lease with these folks. We've leased them 200 acres, and they'll be hopefully be into the city for permitting pretty soon. So that's all good. That's a good project. So if you take that and the Boeing effort and what we're trying to do at Safe Boats and our efforts on the waterfront, you know, we own a downtown city block. Right. That we bought that we're going to develop someday into a nice project. So that's we've been working on that. So, you know, and we've got to upgrade the Port Orchard Marina, and we're going to build a new park down in Port Orchard, and we're taking over the Port Orchard boat ramp. We've taken that over and we're rebuilding it. So we've got a lot on our plate.
You do. So in closing, I want to first of all thank you for your service and the opportunity to work with you for so many years and learn from you. And so what's next other than looking for some consultant work? I know you're a golfer and a traveler and a reader and a cigar smoker. Are you still smoking cigars?
Not as much. Oh, my doctor and I had a conversation about,
he probably told you
my cigar smoking, so not as much.
I wish you all the best, and I'll let you say the final words today.
Well, you know, 70's the new 60, 60's the new 50, all that kind of baloney, you know. And I feel great, and I want to contribute, but on my own terms. I want to help people, and I'll go to my grave wanting to do that. And
Good for you.
I'm sure there's still much more that I can do. And if anybody's out there listening and thinks I could help them, give me a call. But I'm looking forward. I always look at life in sections, and I'm looking forward to my next section of life. I call it phase 5 now, and I'm going into phase 5, and it's to be determined. And I'm looking
Cool.
forward to it.
Great.
Good being with you again, Char.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Mayor.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us on Conversation With. We'll see you next time.